of Activity Browser, Marin Visser, and also openLCA, Conrad Spindler. I hope I pronounced your name right. Okay, so thank you and welcome. The floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. So Marin and me also don't know what a Barcamp is, so but that's why we need your help. So Mark from CML Leiden had the nice idea that we do such a Barcamp because Activity Browser and openLCA are obviously the only free user interfaces, right? And yeah, so we want to get you also involved, that you can tell us what you don't like, or maybe what functionalities you are missing in the tools, right? So we hope that you ask us also a lot of questions, and maybe to trigger some questions, we thought to make a very simple process just to show you, because maybe not all of you know the user interfaces. We do it very quickly because to trigger a bit the discussion, because maybe you find already something you don't like. We can make a short raise of hands. How many of you have ever used Activity Browser? Yeah, everyone, of course, because it's Brightway core. How many of you have ever used openLCA? Oh, quite a lot. Yeah, that's quite more than I thought.
I think we're gonna have a lot of input then. It's gonna be great. Yeah, so I think the whole goal of this is that you're going to have to be speaking longer than us during this entire session. If not, we'll have a very quick break after this, or a very long break, actually. So like Conrad already said, we're going to be modeling something pretty small. I'll be doing it in Activity Browser, and then we'll be switching over to him. Most of it I've already modeled, so we won't be looking at me creating databases, creating activities, whatever. If you look at this very nice database I've made here, we already have the two processes in there that you saw on the slide. Fuel production, electricity production are both there. I'm missing two flows in my electricity production process. One of them is the carbon dioxide flow, and one of them is the fuel production flow that I've already made in the same database. To make a technosphere flow, it's very simple. Just drag and drop it right here, and voila. 1 liter of fuel is now flowing from my fuel production process into my electricity production process. I actually need 2 liters, so I double click, change it to 2, Cessa. Then for carbon dioxide, it's always a little bit trickier. We're going to have to go into biosphere, find the flow that we would really like to add. Carbon dioxide. There's of course thousands of them, but we want this one. Carbon dioxide fossil from the category air, and that, if we double check, 10 kilowatts hours 112 is exactly what we also see here. 10 kilowatt hours 112. Okay, well, let's make a calculation set about it then. We go back to the database, we select electricity production, and then right click to create a setup. Brightcon, hello, and let's go. 10 kilowatt hours. I think we're going to use 1 kilowatt hour as our functional unit. And to compare it, we will add also the eco-invent electricity production. We're going for, let me quickly move that to here. Electricity high voltage from the global market. It's always easier if you're not holding a microphone in your hand, of course. Electricity high voltage. Oh, already have glow. That's great. 1 kilowatt hours actually, so I'm gonna quickly group by that. And there it is. 1 kilowatt hour. All looks correct, Conrad.
Yeah.
Has the right the right because otherwise our results won't match, and then we have a lot of explaining to do to you guys. Is there a specific impact category that you wanted to use, Conrad, or
Let's
anything?
use standard EF31.
Let's have a look. Environmental flows. I always use, oh, there we go. Climate change, right? Hoppa. Run that. Do some processing in the backend, and there we go. We see that we have actually created one of the best functioning electricity production models in the world. Maybe we should quickly put out a patent on that. In the results of us, of course, you can see the different functional units, how well they perform. You can also do a quick overview heat map, see which one performs best. If you had selected more impact categories, you would see them there as well. And then in the contribution flows, I think most of you know what we're looking at. You can select, or you can change the graph by score, by range. You can make it absolute to see what elementary flows contribute to what. And then the same goes for the process contributions as well. And of course, there's the Sankey graph, the one that doesn't say a lot for the model we created ourselves. If we go for market group, we'll have to walk through the graph for a bit, but there we go. It gives us a nice overview of where the impact is coming from. You may need to change the cutoff a bit, but other than that, it will make you able to walk the graph and see where everything is coming from. Wow, nice. Thank you, EcoInvent. Lovely. And I think that concludes it for my part. Conrad, you want to quickly switch over to your laptop?
Yes.
Unless there are already some inputs and questions from the audience, of course. I mean, I already said, right? If we're talking more than you guys, yeah, you can just move it down. Yeah, that's no problem. If we're talking more than you guys, then this Barcamp experiment is failed, and we're never doing it again. Anything, anybody? Oh, there we go.
What I hate is when you show this. When I first used Activity Browser, I saw this functionality called process contribution. I would say, I mean, I started with Sima Pro as a typical LCA practitioner doing LCA for any system, especially energy and buildings. I almost never needed that function. Like this contribution based on elementary flows or processes, I always just need the Sankey diagram. I want to walk through the things and I want to have my own defined group. So I feel, yeah, just one feedback. I feel that functionality exists in someone who does matrix-based LCA calculation, but it's never that useful. Just a feedback.
Thank you. It's hard to say what I hate about the activity browser, but really thank you for the work you've done. It was really a useful tool for my lab. And so far, so good. I mean, the tutorials are fine and it's well described, and there is also documentation about that. But we really had difficulties going further. Like sometimes we tried uncertainty analysis and we tried different options and we lack guidance at this step. And there were some, and there are actually good YouTube tutorials, but they stop at some point. And then we're kind of lost in the field in where can we go? Where can we find the resources, the guidance to conduct robust uncertainty analysis?
So shall we first continue with the openLCA and then we come back to, okay. Okay, okay, lots of hand.
Okay, just to clarify, I really like Activity Browser, but I'm gonna just say one thing. It sometimes feels like an interface for eco-invent and not LCA, because it's not very clear how to import anything other than eco-invent. There is some kind of Excel import. It's not clear how to use it, I think. I try to look for, again, guidance, I think. So maybe more support or guidance on how to import anything other than eco-invent. Well, yeah.
Hello?
Nice. Yeah, and what you're saying is correct, and I think it's something in which openLCA really shines with their Nexus. It's so easy to import so many different databases, and something that not always, well, as far as I have seen. So don't. It's something we can really learn in that sense from you guys.
To say something to this, like, but everyone of you will know it, that unfortunately all the databases out not eco-invent are not well maintained from the database developers, and that is a huge problem. They come with so many errors. One has to correct them. They are not mapped to the same reference system and so on. So that's why it's always easy when the databases are based on eco-invent. Carbon Mines based on eco-invent. Agribalis also for the most part based on eco-invent. on based on eco-invent. So there's a lot of databases which kind of are based on eco-invent, and for other ones it's more difficult to implement.
Yes. Thank you for the activity browser. What I love is the fast generation of plots, but also the Excel table below, or the export, because most of the plots, to be honest, I would never use for a journal publication because of the long eco-invent name. Yeah, but I generate the plots very fast, and then I export the numbers, rename things, and so on. But you showed the Sankey diagrams, and I'm not super clear on the latest activity browser beta version, but I have the feeling the number export does not exist for the Sankey diagrams. Yeah, so that I could do that myself. And I mean, you've seen my Sankey diagrams. I did them from scratch on my own, but I couldn't use the activity browser to get the numbers. Yeah, so a number export in that area to complement the very nice data export and Excel table export for the other types of plots. That would be highly appreciated.
Sorry, I know we have a heated debate here, but we are obliged
that's
to
good.
take some online
really good.
online question. So yes, the online participant, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I came across a problem when working with Activity Browser. I think this kind of leans towards the process contributions as not being the most helpful of all categories, because I had a hard time figuring out how to allocate the processes then back again to my actual lifecycle stages, essentially. Especially when I model with my own Excel databases. And I think the first tier contributions are kind of do that, but they for me had limitations, probably due to how I model in my Excel-based databases. But yeah, I ended up not finding a proper solution to this yet. So maybe somehow if we can discuss this, or yeah, I hope my point came across here.
What would you like to see physically in the activity browser to help solve your problem?
Well, I have experience with working with Umberto, and there it's pretty easy to distinguish by lifecycle stage, and so just by how you put how you've set up your process, basically. I don't have a proper solution in mind as of now. But yeah, this is something that would really, maybe there's a solution to this already, but it would definitely really make life easier for my modeling, at least.
Fair enough. Thank you. Maybe openLCA has a solution in place for that. I think it's good to now switch to Conrad's modeling example and see what we can learn from that.
I was quite surprised how similar it looks. So it will be in principle the same. It's just to trigger some discussion, right? We had here, I saw an activity browser, the outputs are up and the inputs down. I don't know why, but it's pretty similar that like you have here your electricity production process. You can simply drag and drop and you will directly have the process and the reference product connected. We also added carbon dioxide, right? Double click, you Google carbon dioxide, fossil, I guess, right? And let's say unspecified compartment, 1 kilogram, that's it. So now you can, if you want, you can also do a direct calculation without any comparisons or something like that. And it will always calculate the whole database just within seconds. If you want to do a comparison, then usually you create product systems that you then compare in a project, which is also, I mean, the product systems is not similar, but the project structure is quite similar with Activity Browser. So here you have a project. You simply drag and drop all the product systems you want to compare. You see 10 kilowatt hour. No, we want to have 1 kilowatt hour compared. EF 3.1, and you calculate it. You can also tailor your own report if you want to have more graphics there. Like here's, for example, some graphics like that with all impact categories. Some graphics like that. Yeah. And also, yes, of course, the eco-invent names are usually very long, as you can see here. You mentioned it. You can simply copy-paste the method and rename it. That's what I also do for publications, because either you want abbreviations or you don't want to have such a long name. Yeah. Okay, that's it. But yeah, continue to always ask questions. Activity Browser, as you wish.
Thank you very much. I have one question about the Brightway and the event. So for Brightway, for the old versions, we can't do allocations for co-products. We can do economical or physical allocations when we have co-products in our process. But in the new version, I think you added the possibility to do a physical allocation, but there is no way to do an economical one for Activity Browser.
We're talking about solving multifunctionality. I'll get into that tomorrow during the demonstration.
Okay. And for eco-event, what I for openLCA, what I hate is that processes and product systems, they are not connected. When we create a product system and we modify a little thing data in our process, you have to delete your product system and recreate another one to have an updated results.
I guess so, yes, because the product system is a layer on top of the processes. But I have to say, people have different modeling workflows. In my daily life, I rarely create product systems. I create them at the end of the project to compare things. I have colleagues who only work in the model graph, and then you need a product system. So you don't touch the processes. You can then model everything in the model graph as a product system. But if you are now developing new data sets, you want to know the impacts, you can always do a direct calculation, you know? Yeah. So for me personally, I only use the product systems when I compare things in a project. But they are also useful to have huge parameter tables that you import or to switch supply chains. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have a question maybe for both of openLCA or activity browser. So I know that if we want to conduct an LC calculation, we need a foreground database and also background database. And if every time I change the foreground database, that means, for example, if we have a PV power plant, we change the capacity of the power plant, and we need to manually let the model run and get the results. So is it possible to let the model run by itself, like automatically? So that means I can change the foreground database automatically, but I cannot get the results. So I need to change it every time manually, so to get the results. So yeah.
I not fully got the question. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah, that means, so for example, if I want to do optimization, so yes, something like this, I can use the code to change the foreground characters. Yeah, I don't want to hit
you
the
can-
button to let the code to control the AB or something. So is it possible?
I mean, you can connect openLCA also to a IPC server and use Python to modify all your foreground data sets.
Okay.
You can modify them inside openLCA with SQL or with Python. Yeah, so
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Same goes for Activity Browser. It's built right on top of Brightway. So if you just have some Brightway scripts running and then hit run again, it will update it for you.
Okay. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
great.
no problem.
I have something for openLCA. I was actually excited a few years ago when you released this graph-based modeling thing, where you like kind of like the Gabi interface, where you like just connect nodes
yeah.
and yeah, but it's horrible to use. Honestly, I could never figure out how to get it to work.
I don't use it in my daily life. Some people use it. Of course, that was a lot of troubles also for the developers, because that's not so easy. When you have already the core, and then you put the model graph where you, I mean, the model graph was easy. That was from the beginning there, but then changing the whole model graph, you know. I don't know, I always like to work in the unit processes directly, because there I directly see all the values, all the tables, you know. But I can understand that there needs to be still some more improvement, that it's more intuitive, because the model graph should be like for Gabi, where like people just put in boxes and it's a bit simplified, of course. And yeah, maybe with online LCA, this will be not so much needed, because we are also working on online LCA, which is like a simplified user interface, you know. But I can understand your point. I also don't use it so often, so I don't have too much experience with that.
Yeah.
But you don't need it necessarily. Yeah.
One more thing, this mainly for my colleagues, so I always get a question. I imported database X from Nexus. I ran some calculation and I get result of 0. And I always look, and
then usually it's a database which has its own reference system maybe and is not mapped, you know. For example, EF, you will not have mapped, you know, because EF is an island by itself, and that's on purpose from the European Union. I think LCA Commons we have now mapped, yeah. But this is always a lot of task, of course, and but we hope that in the future there will be easier ways to do that, to solve that.
My request is more like maybe warn the user, because, for example, if you do the same thing in Brightway, you get like all characterization metrics are zeros, or something, some warning like that, to kind of explain to the user what is going on.
But you said you get 0 results, and then it's clear that it's not mapped at all.
They don't know why it's 0.
Yeah. But what would be different in Brightway when you get 0 results? Ah, okay.
when there's zero, sometimes it's not calculated and it doesn't really tell her like this is the correct calculation. It's equal to zero. This is not the case. It just couldn't calculate it and just tells you it's zero. That's not right. That.
Online, okay. So we need to take some online questions. We will give you a chance. Don't worry. Okay, online. So someone open your mic, please.
Hi. No, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. No, I just have silly questions. It's about AB. If it's possible to allow for downloads as PNG for the Sankey diagram, because I always have to convert the SVG files. So it's something very, very silly. And also, if it's possible to make, if you are planning to make some fuzzy matching search, because I always forget to put commas and have some minor mistakes. And AB is very strict with the writing. If I have a tiny mistake, I don't find it. And I think that's not very hard to do. From my side, that's it.
Well, the PNG, can you do that in openLCA actually? Oh shit, well then we really have to do it. No, it's definitely something worth looking into. The layout of the Sankey diagram is something I wanted to look to anyways. So this is definitely something, together with exporting the raw values of the Sankey diagram, definitely something worth considering from my side. As of the fuzzy search, is something that's actually in the pipeline. One of my colleagues is working very hard to implement something like this, and if it was here, he would probably have shown it off. But it's probably going to be there in a few weeks, because just building this model right now on stage also made me notice how incredibly stupid our search bar actually is.
Okay, so.
Hi. Thanks. Those are two great tools. I have a question for both. I know it's a big deal. It's about web-based tool, because the burden of having to install those tools may be like blocking for people like interns or students. So what we do now currently is that we have a server and we have installed tools, and we have installed something that is called Apache Guacamole, that enables through a browser to access graphical interface of a login, but that's a lot of. So, do you have any plans to make it web-based, both of the tools?
From the activity browser side, right now, no. To convert the whole Qt backend that we're using into a web interface would just be very much work for not the capacity, as simple as that. However, I kind of know that openLCA is working on something like this, right?
But it's not meant to be replacing openLCA in the cloud. It's more like it's online LCA, where openLCA is working under the hood in the core, like doing the calculations, but the user interface will be simplified for non-LCA experts, that you can easily insert different parameters and do your calculations and reports. But as I understood you, it's only a problem of rights, or
like it depends. Sometimes we organize courses and we don't want to ask people to install it because it will take like half an hour for them to deal with all the different configurations. Sometimes it's people who don't have access rights on their own computers because of silly policies. So it's various, but it's something that comes quite regularly. Yeah.
Okay, but that's, we should write it down. That's good to know. I mean, the installation doesn't take long. I'm a Mac user. You just copy the app into your program folder. It's also Apple certified. So the installation takes only 3 seconds to copy these 500 megabytes. For Windows, there's also, because of user rights, a zip package. So you don't necessarily have to go over the installer. You can take a zip package, because then you are sure that you have rights to write on that folder. Because sometimes we have users, they go over the installation, and the openLCA files, similar like to Brightway, they are stored somewhere else so that your databases are always safe. But then maybe some people don't have user rights to write on that folder. But for that, we have also a zip version. Yeah. But it's no, but it's good to know with the rights. Okay.
Comment for both platforms. Once you finish.
Yes.
Okay. So I have experienced this myself. I've seen many of my colleagues and people I know going through the same. Is that a user of Umberto or Cima Pro or whatnot who wants to try things, they will try openLCA, of course, they will try AB, but we are always constrained by the fact that we cannot install even Agribalis because it's tied apparently to Equinvent, even if Agribalis includes copies of required Equinvents, whatever. So I don't understand this blockage. In principle, I think both platforms should offer, like Cima Pro used to do before, I don't know today, like a castrated, smaller version of Equinvent that allows people to try and play.
If Equinvent allows that, that would be nice.
Have you asked?
Yeah, I get your point, because what I also sometimes find sad that, you know, people, they download openLCA to try it out. Then they download a very badly modeled free database, you know, from also when you download data sets from GLAD. I mean, GLAD is a nice idea, but it contains a lot of errors, which has nothing to do with the tool. And then you get frustrated maybe. So it would be nice if the first experience is in a well-curated database like Equinvent. I fully agree. Maybe what is an idea, because in openLCA we now also have libraries which can be protected. So it's a bit similar to Cima Pro. So it's immutable, you cannot change the data there. You can put it onto your foreground model so that the foreground and background is well separated, and they can be also password protected. So maybe that's an idea, and you can give them even a time frame of a day or a week. Maybe that's an idea we could discuss with Equinvent to have like a demo case which is valid for 2 days or something like that. And then you cannot open it afterwards anymore. That's an idea.
And I have a second item in the wish list, is that every software, all of the, both of you and all others, should one day please include the possibility, provide a template for data that we, the users, we fill with multiple data, and then you ingest it to automatically generate a batch of inventories instead of the users need to do by hand, one by one, etc.
Yeah, well, Conrad and I were already talking about something a little bit connected to that, right? So I have at least one common format in which our softwares can talk to each other. So we're both very interested in Chris's talk on the ILCD importer. Oh, you want the microphone?
We have one person online who's in a silent place and they don't feel they can ask it out loud, so I asked their question. So they said what they really love about openLCA is the contribution tree. What they really don't love about openLCA is exporting results from the contribution tree, because they need to go to the first impact category, Control A, export to Excel, go to the next one, Control A, export to Excel, and then and usually it's 10 or 20 impact categories.
Really good point. Yeah. The exporting of other things like input output is easy. You can just copy paste into Excel and it will directly overtake everything in this tabular format. I think, yeah, it was not so often raised that people want to export the contribution table. I also now need it more often, because usually I plot my Sankey's in Sankey-Matic, which is an open tool, looks beautiful, and you always have the same order kind of. And that's a good point. I will write it down so that the contribution tree gets easier exported. I think the other windows, usually like the characterization factor tables, input output tables, Excel results, I think this is already there. but contribution tree is a good contribution to it.
To quickly jump back to the last point about common data format, I would really like to know from you guys, what do you think the common data format for that would be? Would it be ILCD as maybe as of if in a few days we'll be able to import export into Activity Browser elsewhere? Or is there another data format that we should be focusing on getting working with Brightway and openLCA together? Online? Or are we just going to go with ILCD? Oh, there we go.
Can you precise your question because it's a bit confusing as well? What format are you talking about? I mean, that I understood. Thank you. But then the format is also in the format in JSON. So the presentation we had already previously from, sorry, I forgot the name of the database. No, from in China. Tiangong, yeah. So they have their own format, right? So that's a format and the format of exportation. So there is two formats somehow, what we are mixing there, right? Isn't it? So ELCD and JSON or XML or whatever. Right?
I know what you mean. We have to be careful with the words like format, schema, reference system, and all these three things we need to speak about. And the only thing I can imagine is ILCD. Even though ILCD is old, it's outdated, it's overloaded, it's slower, it's XML. But when we are honest, do you really believe that all the tools out there will always have the import-export of all the other tools? I'm not sure about.
Exactly the point. I mean, coming back to the first to do the question, it's okay. But what we are talking about exportation from one software to another. I mean,
yes, I think that's what he
that's
meant.
what he asked. Yeah,
so
okay.
that we can share between Brightway Activity Browser and openLCA, for example.
But at EcoInvent, for instance, that we have EcoSpoil format too. You know those one. No? That's so why nobody used that one directly? I mean, starting from openLCA, why do you convert? Why Simba Pro or Pre convert and be able to import? Do you remember how long time that it takes to import a release from EcoInvent to your software?
I mean, it depends what you want to do. You cannot directly import EcoInvent to openLCA.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's not possible.
Yeah.
That's why.
I don't know.
You should be knowing that, right?
No, I mean there was also to be honest, yes, I don't know it because there was also changes a lot of times in the past in EcoSpoil 2, which I don't know if they were always documented. That's what I heard, but don't nail me down on this, please.
No.
But then, yeah, okay, I can understand your point. You want then that everyone uses EcoSpoil.
It's just a proposition. I mean, we can find a solution and have a standard, which will be great. I mean, I must confess, I'm not stuck with EcoSpoil. I'm not have anything with that. I mean, the advantage of that is there is everything, including the metadata, which could be also useful, by the way. But the point is there that we should just use the same and importing from one software to another. I mean, Brightway use EcoSpoil importation straightforward. Then you can use the release as soon as we provide it. And an openLCA, Simba Pro, and all the others take 9 months. So they give birth, let's say, every year.
Sima Pro needs 9 months to give birth. I need now maybe 2 weeks because we add additional things. We add additional text documents and things. But no, I understand your point. But then I could also say that I think it was already 10 years ago. How is this IT World Developer Forum called? I don't know. Yeah, they always tell the people use JSON LD because it's the most lightweight and the most quick format. So the typical format we always work in openLCA with is our JSON LD.
So
that's then I could also say why not everyone is using JSON LD and mapping the things.
Okay.
So and that's why I said in the beginning, I think we will never get out of these issues because even if then one tool is making an update of their format because they want to add some, all the other tools have to do the same updates and so on. But ILCD, it's not needed. Even if ILCD is old and we pressed already a lot of more things into ILCD, like EPDs were pressed into, you can also press in global parameters, even though originally they were not in the schema. But
sorry, Conrad, coffee
we
is over
can
there.
use a lot of
and-
things with ILCD, and then we would have at least one common format. And openLCA can import, export it. Yeah.
Okay, let's just take one more question from online participants and then we move on for the coffee session. Okay, please.
Oh.
Maybe go. Nicholas, you have the platform. Just please open your mic and you can surprise us. Hello, hello? Okay, so we're sorry that this doesn't work out, but let's further continue the conversation. I really enjoyed this complaint corner. So you can just move on to the coffee session and keep on the complaint, the complaints. So thank you all. And please come back in 30 minutes. So we are